episode 1. So we're going to move in and go ahead and grab the bolt-action rifle that the game is requesting us to go ahead and purchase, and then we'll start out on our first deer hunt. So as you can see, that takes up most of our money there, and we want to make sure that we've got some ammunition for it. If you don't know about it yet, pressing F if you're on keyboard when you're looking at ammo will show you only the ammunition that you have for equipped weapons. So to just demonstrate that real quick, we went ahead and purchased that rifle, but we haven't equipped it yet. So what we can do is take this 783, we can equip it here to slot 1, make sure we put our scope back on there, go back to the shop, look for ammo, and we can see that we've got the 243. We don't yet have these unlocked, the rest of these ammunition types, but we can get an unlimited free quantity of the Premier AccuTip 5s. Now, originally when the game launched, it didn't have these additional ammunition types, and so this is one of the things I'm curious to see when these come about unlocking as we play through here. So we've got that.
Away from more than 120 yards.
And that's very, very, a useful tip there from River to just kind of show us, like, should probably get in close. So, reach the upper grassland area. You see I have the hunter sense on. That's why everything is kind of this shade of purple and highlighted for us here. And if you don't know, River Knox there, the stuntman, that's kind of our character here is River, and that's what his profession is otherwise before, hunting out here is he's a professional stuntman. Looks like he did a couple of different movies. So, let's take a look. Oh yeah, once it's getting way down there, our car is still way over there. We can always recall that from the parking lot, but I think that's what we'll do. We'll just jog over here. Make sure we've got our rifle fully loaded. Go ahead and grab our Jeep. And we're off. So this is our first deer hunt of the new series, and as we move onward and forward, more and more of the game is really going to start unlocking for us here and make it a little bit easier to, get back into free hunt. And so my videos will become a lot less structured as, free hunt opens up and we're able to get out there and chase different species that are not kind of in the tutorialization section. So let's get down here to the grassland habitat. All right, we're very, very close.
It's quiet, and glass frames from behind cover.
Oh, I can see a deer herd way over there, so it's harvest a mule or whitetail. Okay.
A deer and a mule deer. Grandpa used to tease me.
Cool. Looks like we got a couple different herds to choose from. We got a 1-star adult there. We've got a 2-star mature over here.
I haven't forgotten hunting lessons from Grandpa.
Well, let's see if we can sneak into this stand here. The reason we're doing that, I'll go ahead and show this off real quick, is I want to go ahead and start trying to work our way towards unlocking some of these perks. And a lot of those, let's see, unlock by doing certain actions. So hitting, shots a certain amount of times from a stand. Going ahead and getting started with that really early, and just kind of leaning in on that since I know it's there is something that I want to do because those perks are actually very useful. And so we're just going to try and sneak in here. Look around. Oh, yep, we've identified using our hunter sense. Hey, look, there's some sign. I think this is going to be the badger again, the same thing that we hunted last time. Yep, and we can see that they rest here quite often. Now that status of often and resting, the resting status won't change, but as you can see, the frequency of use often can change, and that is if you hunt this very frequently. So if we are commonly coming down here looking for badger and we start shooting them out of right here much more frequently, they will go to their other rest zone more often. So be strategic, be careful when you're hunting. Make sure that you're not making, overusing or kind of abusing a zone. You don't want to do that. It's really ends up making it more complicated for you in the long run, especially as we are looking at trying to make our hunts a little bit easier for us, which is something that you really when I say use strategy, what you want to do is push the animals into making the zones that are easier to hunt the often used zones. So that's something we'll talk about a little bit later on in strategy and discussion, probably in a more freeform video than this sort of tutorial entry series. So we're just going to keep an eye on these mule deer over here. Now you may be saying, that's a 2-star mature, why not just take that out? And that's because I've seen 2-star mature that would have reached 5-star, and I'm not the best at telling how far along they are in their age cycle as of just yet. And so we are going to just let him walk for now and see if we can age him up. Aging animals up is another thing that I'm going to talk about in a coming series. And so keep that in mind. If you are interested in that sort of thing, check back with us and see when I've put that video out. I'm going to talk about how I age things up, how I manage my herds. And as I mentioned in the first episode, that's something that I didn't do a wonderful job of the first time because I didn't really understand the system all that well. So now that I know it better, I'm definitely going to try and manage these herds that are right here in front of the lodge better than before. As, oh, a badger just attacked us. Look at that. Apparently we scared it and it charged after us. So lots of calling you can hear going on here. That's great. That tells me that we're doing a good job of getting close. We want to be careful when we climb the stand, not to spook anything. I think our primary target is going to be that 1-star there in this whitetail herd. This mule deer herd across the river may spook when we start to climb this stand. It does make noise, and unfortunately sometimes it just can't be avoided. I'm not sure if the speed at which you climb matters for noise generation, but I always like to think that it does, so we'll just take this slow. We'll get up in our stand here. And let's see. There's our animal. So see how the hunter sense dot there has um, changed colors. That tells us that we are getting an ethical amount of energy on target. That's a very useful feature. If you're not sure how a rifle performs or how a bullet performs at range, that can be very useful for showing you how effective you are going to be at taking an animal. So while River suggested we get much closer than this, I can see using the hunter sense that we are going to be effective in the shot. We just probably are going to have to track further, and I would rather go ahead and work towards that stand progression talent. So we'll wait on this big fella over here to stop, and then we will take the shot. Wow, the sway is pretty rough right now. There we go, that's a good hit. There he is. He's running off on us. It looks like he's going to go down. We'll just try to keep an eye on him. Anytime you lose sight of an animal, one of the things I like to do is make another marker. Okay, so that's the last place we saw. We can kind of triangulate and figure out which way he's going from there. Now that he's run off, let's make sure that we climb down and go start our blood trailing. So one of the downsides of taking that shot at that range is that our energy probably wasn't enough there for a true double lung shot. But we can look and see if maybe this appeared. And yeah, we can see it hasn't shown up quite yet in there, so we may not have hit a lung. We'll see. That looked like a good amount of blood from where we were, but it's always worth running over and checking. And, it's a hunting sim, right? Like that's the point, is try to land those ethical shots and really get into and enjoy the blood trailing and the sim part of this. See if we can keep an eye out for that mule deer herd and check and see if they ran off a good long ways or if they didn't go too far at all. Really don't want to be sprinting around. In all honesty, probably should be. Oh, what's that there? Oh, there's that red fox. He's a 1-star adult. Okay. So, in an attempt also to go ahead and get more of these perks unlocked, we're going to go ahead and start moving in these various stances. So I'm going to just kind of walk here in this crouch stance because this pad foot and its hunchback companion from the crouch stance, I use the crouch stance quite a bit when I'm not shooting from the stand, and so those are the ones I like to prioritize. Then we will move up to the run in an upright position, and then the crawl. Now there is a easier way to unlock these that I will say, which is that the game does have an auto run button that you can assign, or an auto move button. And so one way that if you really wanted to do this is, and you wanted to get these kind of before you really got into hunting, would be to find a long straight piece of ground and just use that auto walk button, and then you can kind of level it AFK. If you grew up doing the level myself in Oblivion trick using the rubber band like I did, this kind of thing really appeals to me. But I understand that not everyone likes these, and some people just like to develop it naturally. So if either one of those is you, there's a trick you can use. Otherwise, just keep at it, and you will unlock those perks. They do make a difference. However, I've never really had one absolutely ruin my experience or change massively how the game is played. So just something to keep in mind. All right, as we approach this blood sign here, let's see what the analysis will show us. Pink blood, that tells me we hit a lung, as well as the impurities. We definitely hit a lung. A medium amount of blood tells me that we are probably in a single lung shot. So, just because I'm not entirely sure how this works, let's learn it together. Let's see if it's going to show us hit heart, either lung, or artery 50 times from a hunting stand. I wonder if that'll change. We seem to have that one earlier. And I wonder if that's going to change as when we harvest the animal. It didn't seem to count it when the shot landed. So let's take a look and see. All right, here we are. We have found the first harvested deer of the series so far, and while he was a 1-star mature, he did look pretty good. I'll be curious to see what that antler that's sticking out of the ground there and glitched out a little bit looks like, but let's go ahead and take a peek. Okay, we hit both lungs. We were a little bit high of the heart, so unfortunate there, but kind of to my surprise, we did end up in both lungs there with the 243 at nearly 300 yards. So excellent shot, River. I'm going to pat myself on the back a little bit there. And as we can see, this would have only ever made it to 3-star. So yeah, small guy, but nicely formed rack he's got going on there. And we're just going to go ahead and sell him off here because we want the money. So that's the basics of hunting. Now all shop items, multiplayer modes, free modes, and available territories are accessible. Cool. Looks like it's also given us a couple different quests have come through there, and the tutorialization there about the menu orders and the restaurant orders. So that's it. We are now in free hunt. Very cool. There's a lot of items that I've just purchased the DLC for, and so I would have access to those in the shop. But in the spirit of fairness, I'm not going to just run and immediately go grab some of those because a lot of them can be kind of game breaking. And so while I don't necessarily have to spend the in-game currency on them, I am going to wait until I have something sort of approximating it to unlock more of them. And so let's go ahead and take a look now at our character perk and see. Yep, so hit heart, either lung. I guess it did count it that first time. Cool. Well, here we are learning something together. So let's go back to the lodge here and figure out what it is that we want to hunt. So a good first step here would be accepting the restaurant order from the computer. So let's see what we got in the emails. All right, so some pheasant. We'll go ahead and accept this. Looks like we're going pheasant hunting. And for that, I think we're going to want a shotgun.
This reminds me when Grandpa went for a pheasant hunt and forgot to take a shotgun.
Good call there, River. Yeah, we're definitely going to want a shotgun. So I do know for a fact that they give you this Cinnamon Sky the Jack at the beginning of the game. I'm not sure if that was like a pre-order bonus or where, but I did get that for free. However, just to kind of stay in theming, we're going to go ahead and grab the one of these other guns that we can't. Well, it looks like the only 12 gauge option that we have is the side-by-side Cinnamon Sky. So we'll go ahead and grab one of the 20 gauges just because they're kind of nice to have. Go ahead and spend our 1400 here, and we'll make sure we've equipped it and put some ammo in it. And we don't have an optic for it just yet. That's okay. So I know a good place to go and find some pheasant is actually not too far from where we just were. So we'll head back down that way. I'm going to go ahead and clear out the exploration markers and blood track markers from our last one. Make sure we're loaded up, and I will see you when we're on the hunt for some pheasant. More badger sign out and about as we check the fields here for pheasant. See something else is highlighted up there. We will run over and check with that. Always good to keep your binoculars out. If you're kind of new, you may be thinking you just want to have your gun ready at all times. But honestly, your binoculars will serve you so much better because you just never know when you're going to see something. Like that badger that's moving over there. Not really what we're hunting right now, but we could harvest it with the 243 if we got a clean shot. Another thing that we're doing by checking all these zones is we are working our way towards another one of these perks, which is, oh goodness, Hunter Sense perks. So interact with 15 unique animal signs, either static or dynamic. You can do that either working in the working with the blood trails, or you can do that while you are looking just for these signs. Both of those will work to activate that perk for you. However, when you're pheasant hunting or bird hunting, they tend to leave way less blood, if any. And so I find it best in this early game, because I want the ability to use that hunter sense while we're walking, to just go ahead and kind of keep my eye out for them. The way I'm doing this is I'm just walking a little bit. I'm stopping. If you're familiar at all with the concept of still hunting in real life, it's very similar to that. I just kind of take a few steps, stop and look around. Take a few steps, stop and look around. And we're just going to keep doing that until we find something. All right, here's our first sign that there's some pheasant up here. I actually heard the audio cue there and stopped. I have a hard time distinguishing if the pheasant is the pheasant call is just like ambient audio at sometimes, or the real thing. And so, since the hunter sense let us know that it's pretty close to us, we're going to go ahead and get the shotgun out and get ready for it to go up in the air. We are not looking for a specific sex of pheasant on this one, just meat haul in general. So let's work our way in and be ready for the flush. And there they are. Let's see, we got a 2-star adult male in there. That's probably an excellent one to keep around. A 1-star young and another 2-star adult. So this one has potential to give us some 5-star pheasants. That's great. It looks like they're also standing in a zone, which will be wonderful for helping us identify. So let's go ahead and get the shotgun out. And we'll move in here. We'll try to flush. You can definitely hunt them on the ground if you feel inclined to do so. I enjoy the challenge of shooting from the air. As you can see, I'm not the best at it. So make sure we pick up that, okay, they're eating here, great, that's excellent, exactly what we want to see, and we've unlocked the encyclopedia on them, which is wonderful. Go ahead and put a shell on that badger for running us over for what I can only assume is the second time. This guy seems to have himself a bit of a vendetta. And we're still on the hunt for these pheasants. Fortunately, they keep calling. And so we will be able to just kind of keep moving. And you can see from the highlight there that that badger that we hit with the shotgun did eventually die. Not really the appropriate class of weapon for him, so as I was talking about, previously with the do what you got to do, and everybody enjoys, hunting these hunting games because it's not real life and nothing was unethically harmed in this. So we will just move on past. And let's see if we can continue tracking down some pheasant. 40 to 60 yards once again. Let's get ready for the flush. Make sure our ammo is loaded. It is. See if we can flush them out into the open this time. And there they go. That hit. I'm not sure. See if we can. Spooked pheasant over here. Where there was. So we may have wounded that bird. That's not great. We want to make sure we track that one down. Alright, there they are again. They just can't help but call, it seems. So we'll head this way. We never did see that other one. Even with the hunter sense helping us there. To see if we could, locate that little glowing ring that appears around small game animals. See if we can sneak in closer since I'm having a hard time with the shots on the run today. And we'll go ahead and just get ready, get the bead up. And there he is. There's one. So that just spooked the rest. Not quite sure where they went, but there's more. There's another need zone up there. So that is the one that we did hit earlier. We just did not hit it enough to bring it down. The second shot did. That would have been a 5-star. Oh, 97.55. That's kind of a shame to go ahead and put him out of the herd, but we got to do what we got to do for the quest. So expertise unlocked, Eagle Eye. So let's see which one that is. I believe that is our 15 unique animal signs. Yep. So our hunter sense works at a moderately higher distance now. 10% is really not that much, but every little bit helps. There is another badger around here. You have got to be kidding me. Alright, well, we'll just get out of their territory and leave them to it. There's another one. Maybe the same one. One of the things I really enjoy about this is the way that these species often, cohabitate in similar areas, and you run into, pretty frequently something that you weren't looking for when you set out, which is why it's always helpful to have either a couple different classes of firearms. So you don't always want to carry like 2 class 5 rifles, even if you're hunting a class 5 animal. It's just beneficial because you never know what you're going to walk into out here. So just keeping your options open, as it were, is extremely beneficial as you are looking at, expanding out into the free hunt here. So a beautiful shot of the ranch there. I hear more of them up here. I find it easiest to hunt the pheasants by listening for their call and then moving in on them from there. Using the hunter sense, I have a lot of respect for the guys that play on Ranger, the guys and gals that play on Ranger and are able to, pick up where they are without using that call, and without using the kind of visual aid from their call that the hunter sense gives. So there's a young male. Let's see if there's anything else over here. I'm hesitant to keep taking out many more of these males just because we do know that they were pretty high fitness, and we want to make sure that we're not decimating that flock of all the high fitness. We don't want to knock all their high fitnesses out of there. So, well, sorry, my friend. And we can hear quite a few of them chattering around us, so there were friends back here, just not sure where they've run off to. Looks like they've kind of a little bit further. Here's hoping you weren't going to be anything too special. Yeah, you were going to be a 4-star, so nothing terrible, but probably a good thing that we went ahead and got you out of there. And it looks like we need one more to complete this mission. So another mule deer hunt or sign. And gosh, I was hoping to, knock a few more females out of the flock here, as those 2 males that we saw were very high fitness, I feel like, and it really would have increased our chances of being able to, farm this herd into a 5-star generating herd by leaving them in place. So we're going to look and see if specifically we can find a female this time around. So there's another young male. A young isn't terrible to take, especially since that last one was under 70% fitness. So we spooked one behind us. Not sure where she flew. There she is, right there. Alright, let's go grab that one. She's mature anyways. Not sure where she was in her lifespan. We've really spooked her. She's out and running, so see what we can do. Hunting them in this, even with the foliage setting, which I keep turned down because I find it makes hunting small game significantly easier. Even with it turned all the way down, hunting them in this kind of territory and terrain can be just troublesome because they're very small. They move very quickly, and they don't often fly in the direction that you think they're going to go. So, there we go. If you can keep an eye on them, that's probably the best way to go about it. I have noticed that oftentimes they will stand and they'll fly off, and then they'll land for just a moment, and then they'll take right back off again. And so it can be, at times, I'm not sure what's causing that. It's entirely possible that's me causing that, because I chase them a little bit too vigorously, and they're like, nah, man, I'm out of here, thank you, though. Or it's entirely possible that it's just kind of part of their predator evasion tactics, but we do want to make sure that we are standing ready. See, that's what I mean about this kind of habitat, is because I couldn't keep an eye on her the whole time, she sort of disappeared. Oh, what do we got there? There's a young female. That'll be great. So more mule deer could be part of that same zone. Key kind of little note to look at when you're using the hunter sense: anything that's flashing at you, you haven't unlocked yet. You haven't interacted with yet. Anything that is not, you have interacted with. So just something to keep in mind there. See if we can get her to pop out of that taller grass. Here we go. She is in here somewhere. Unless she's given me the slip once again. Go ahead and get this zone. There she is. And there's our last one. Wow, we've hit her before, quite substantially. I think that's because we're using the 20 gauge. An appropriate weapon for this species, however, sometimes the game just like it wants you to really hit that decimating shot to 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 get the kill, which does make it a little bit frustrating when you get additional loss by shot because you hit something that in reality that probably would have been a kill, and that bird would have fallen, but as we can see, she was still running around quite a bit. So, but here we are. That completes that mission, and up next, we are going to move on to just some freeform deer hunting. So stick around. I'm going to cover the tactics that I use, and we're going to hunt this area as we work towards unlocking the more private lands, which yield bigger and better of the big game species. So thanks for joining us, and I will see you on the next one.